Good afternoon, everyone. This is Shelby Tuck Horton. We are here for Wedding Wednesday webinars, and today we have Jen Ball. Let me just look at my list of all of the titles that she has. She is the owner and founder of Not Your Average Events. She is the state manager for North Carolina. She's a master wedding planner. She's the director of Members at Large, and she is the resident energizer bunny for ABC. I am going to turn it over to Jen. I want to ask if you have not yet mute yourself to do so at this time. Jen, take it away.
Awesome. I'm going to share my screen real quick because if I do not go with a PowerPoint, my professor self will definitely go above and beyond. So let me just get this where I can. All right. Can everybody see my screen? Perfect. All right. So honestly, the reason why my title is named Stop Dragging Your Boots is a hard one. It's the reason, it's the last song my dad was playing on his phone when he was killed. So that's the whole reason behind the title. Literally, it truly is just a reminder that we need to stop dragging our boots. We only have one life, and that we truly need to make sure we have all of our affairs in order. So, with that being said, are you even in the right place? I'm so glad so many of y'all did show up today, but I do really want to make sure you guys are in the right place. So I'm going to share my journey, how I got here, and of course, I'm going to cover one of those hard to talk about topics. It's not a fun topic to talk about. It's not one that we run straight to, and one that we really want to talk out in public. It's one that you may talk privately, or you may not even have those questions with yourself, your significant other ones, or if you have a parent still alive, then you may not have had that conversation with them either. So I'm going to talk to them both on professional levels and a personal level. And of course, I want you to find ways to de-stress because, well, let's be real. Our world, our industry, our jobs are top five, always top five of the most stressful jobs in the world because we put so much pressure on ourselves to make other people's memories last a lifetime. And that's a lot to stand up for. So, first, why is it important to get your affairs in order? Well, let's be serious. You don't want to be left with a mess, nor leave your loved ones with a mess. I will tell you, for 5 years back and forth, I pretty much felt like I was Elmer Fudd running around chasing rabbits and chasing my tail because my parents didn't have their affairs totally in order. And so putting those in order now for my future generations, my siblings, my spouse, that just makes life so much easier for everyone in general. Wow, that's a lot of deaths. Literally, I hate to say it, but several of you on this, if we were doing statistics right now, several of you watching this Zoom right now won't be here tomorrow, won't be here next week, and probably wouldn't be here next year. That's a scary, that's heavy. That is so heavy. And I don't like to talk about heavy. I mean, literally, Shelby called me the Energizer Bunny, and my nickname's Sunshine for a reason. I like rainbows, sunshine, and I love all things positivity. But I've had this dark cloud over my shoulders these last 5 years, and I'm finally, just now, finally starting to breathe again. And I don't want you to be one of those that are left in that because, y'all, tomorrow is not promised. It's one of the reasons why we have to get our affairs in order, why Shelby reached out to me to have this conversation with you. So first thing I want you to do is because, well, the professor in me really wants you to always be engaging and make this something that's more of a life journey and something that you're actually going to do is on a piece of paper, on your phone, wherever, jot down 3 things on your bucket list that you want to do, that you want to succeed in life. One must be personal, one must be for your business and career, and one must be something you want to do for someone else. So we'll talk about those in a little bit. So make sure in that chat, go ahead. I'll answer any questions at the end. But if you want to even write down one of your bucket list things in the chat, please do so. Let us know one thing because I want to hold you accountable for those. And personally, I want to know what I can do to help you get there too. So once you've had those down, set those to the side. And honestly, I want you to put those on an index card and tape it to your mirror in your bathroom, because eventually I want you to do all three of those things sooner than later. So let's get started on how I got to this topic and how I felt like it was a calling to speak out on this. First and foremost, I am not a lawyer. Please do not hold anything I say in a court of law. But I would like to say I've kind of became somewhat of an expert in estates in these last 5 years. So I'm going to share with you everything that I've learned here in North Carolina. Now, of course, your state may be a little bit different, so definitely reach out to your own lawyer. If you do not have a lawyer on standby, I highly recommend one. Make sure you have that, because trust me, they're worth their penny and weight in gold. So this is Miss Lee, the blonde. I love Lee. She was an amazing wedding planner. And I say was because she went in for a normal surgery and unfortunately had complications just a few hours afterwards and didn't make it home. She had lots of weddings planned. She had lots of things to do. She had recently been married like less than a year before. So to say that she had things in order, probably not. But her team jumped in, made sure all the weddings took place. Us as vendors helped out as much as we could. But I can remember Lee Pierce. She was that reason why I kind of got to where I am even to this day. We had long conversations, and I truly could just imagine where she would be at if she was here today. So this is one way to keep her legacy alive. When she passed away, it was a shock. It was a shock wave, not only to me, but my industry locally. So I made sure that what I saw happen to her staff, like not knowing all the passwords, not knowing all the details. There's some company files here, some company files there. That's why having a CRM is so important, because everything's in one place. It's easy for your team to log in to see it. If you have teams, if you don't, you need to start thinking about someone that you would trust to have your business go on or close down after something happens. So this is where my assistant became more than just an assistant. Y'all already know Lachelle. She is pretty much my right hand. She's been with me for 16 years and she is my ride or die. But after Lee's death, she literally got copies to every one of my passwords. So if anything was happened, she could literally walk into my house. She has a key to my house. She knows how to get for any of our company files. She was added to all of our social media platforms, so that way she could control any of that marketing or anything that was coming out right after, because a lot of times we stage and we schedule everything. So the worst thing you want is the day you pass away, something comes out as, oh my goodness, Jennifer's so excited about doing this wedding today. And I'm not excited about doing this wedding today because I'm not there. So you need to make sure you have all those things in place. She also was given access to bank accounts. I know that is scary for some of you guys, but what you may not know is when you pass, your bank accounts are frozen for several days. And things may still need to get paid. Things may need to still, be taken care of, because unfortunately the world is still going to go on, with or without you. I hate to say that, but it truly does. And I'll get to that a little bit later with my dad. So again, you want to make sure that you have that one person. So on that piece of paper, pull it back in front of you, and I want you to write 3 people you would trust. And technicality, your spouse could be that person, but is your spouse really going to understand and know what to do in the business? I guarantee you, Jason would be like, Lachelle, what do I do? Because he wouldn't have a clue what to do with not your average events in my weddings. He had no clue. But he knows Lachelle would be able to take care of it. So again, be very mindful, because not to mention, your spouse is going to be grieving really hard for you. Now, Lachelle's going to cry over me. Don't get me wrong. She will. But you need to make sure someone can really take care of all those financial aspects. Fast forward a little bit later, and unfortunately, everybody knows, in 2020, my mom passed with heart failure. Now, it was different because with my mom, I feel like I kidnapped her from heaven for 33 years. She had been battling cancer since I was in the 2nd grade. So I always say we were planning on her to die at any minute. I mean, we did have most of her affairs in order. Her house was in my name. Her car was in my brother's name. Her credit card was my credit card. I paid all of her bills. So she didn't have anything really when we went into it, but I had to take care of all of her medical bills afterwards. And that's some of those things that are a little tricky. You need to also make sure you are that person that can be their voice. So when she no longer could speak because she was on a ventilator, I could actually, in the midst of COVID, could be sitting beside her in her ICU bed, making any decisions with that doctor, no matter what was going on in the world. I was her voice of reasoning. So you need to make sure you have that in place. What people don't know is what happens when someone passes. I had no clue because anytime someone else had passed, someone else handled it. But you have to be, someone has to set up the funeral arrangements. Someone has to handle the state attorney if they do have any types of assets, or if they're owed anything, or if they need to pay someone. Go to the clerk of court. Someone has to be the legal administrator of that estate. Someone has to put in an obituary for 21 consecutive days to let people know that someone passed. So if there are claims against the deceased, that person can be made aware of it. Contact an insurance agency, contact Social Security. It goes on and on. Oh, wait, you have to still let everyone know that she passed. It's like reliving their grief every single phone call, every single email, and every single conversation or meeting. So you have to make sure that, one, the person who's going to be in that place is in a good mindset. So having that estate attorney, they can handle everything for you. But I took on a lot on myself. So again, this is a good screenshot to take to make sure you kind of know what you're doing. And I'm happy to send this out to anyone in the future. So after my mom's passing, I was 40 years old. Do I really need a will? I don't have any children. I didn't have many assets. I had a lot of debt, but did I need a will? Oh, wait, I'm an owner of a company. Where does that go? I ended up getting a life insurance policy to cover all of my bills so nobody else would be stuck with my bills. And I paid off all of my debt because, again, I didn't want anybody else to worry about me when I was gone. And I really started focusing on me. For a long time, I focused on everyone else. So I thought I was doing great. I was moving along. I was shaking. I was baking. I was on the top of the world. In 2022, at the beginning, I felt like everything was fabulous and wonderful. And unfortunately, on March 22nd, I got that dreaded phone call. Technically, I didn't even get the phone call because, wait, my phone was on silence. I got the knock on the door. 2 police officers walked into my house, sat me down, and informed me my dad had been killed in a motorcycle accident that evening. It's a time no one wants to deal with. It's one of those moments that just feels like it's surreal. And quickly, because I was his only child. Now with my mom, I had a brother to lean on. But with my dad, I was a sole heir. No wife, no kids. Everything's going to lean on me. Everything fell to me. And because he was 10 feet tall and bulletproof and didn't think he needed anything and thought he was going to live forever, he didn't have anything. No will. He never even graduated. He never made it past middle school. I don't even think he made it past the 6th grade of education. So you can imagine what his filing system looked like at his house. It was little pieces of paper of this and things you could barely read. He could barely read and write. It's amazing that he owned as many businesses as he did over his lifetime. But he was an entrepreneur and he was amazing at what he did, but he didn't have everything in writing. So this is where I became pretty much Elmer Fudd running around chasing rabbits nonstop for the next, really the last 3 years. These are some of the things you have to know when you're going through lawsuits, because I went through lots of lawsuits. Oh, wait, let's stop right there. Y'all want to hear the funniest or not so funniest lawsuit? Because I'm a wedding planner. How many people here thought till death do you part? Men, when you're dead, you're done. How many people? Raise your hand. Yeah? No.
Nephrology, this is Tia. How may I help you?
So for the first 6 months,
I'm good.
for the very first 6 months of my dad's death, instead of grieving him, I spent with my lawyers divorcing his dead ex-wife. Yes, please listen to that one more time. My dad was the one who unfortunately found her body 8 years prior, and they had been separated for 14 years. But I still had to divorce her in divorce court. So 2 dead people can still divorce because they were fighting over my dad's assets. Yes, not her family, just the lawyer that was kind of put with her when she died. Yeah, it's not fun. So these are all the things you have to think about in the order, because everything's in pecking order as to who gets paid and how they get paid. One, funerals cost a whole lot more than $3,500. That I can guarantee you. But it doesn't matter, depending on who pays for what, when they pay, when they get paid, how many people are suing your parents or your loved one or the person that passed or even yourself, says how much money will even be available in that estate when it's all said and done. It is a long, drawn out, scary process. And I'm telling you, get your affairs in order right now so you and none of your family ever have to deal with that. So, how many of you have ever faced a situation where personal or business affairs were unprepared or unpredicted? Maybe something happened at an event. How many of you have had a lawsuit? All right. I want you to start thinking about all of those pieces of the puzzle, because I guarantee you, every one of you on this Zoom call right now have been involved in some kind of personal or business affair where you were unprepared. Oh, did you forget about COVID? Because we all were prepared for that. Well, I kind of was. I actually did have pandemic in my contract, believe it or not. But I don't think anybody, no matter how prepared they were prepared for COVID and anything that's proceeded in the last 5 years. How many of you are blessed to still have a parent alive? How many of you still have a significant other alive? How many of you have children? I want you to just take a moment and pause. How many times did you raise your hand or say yes? What if something happened to you right after the Zoom? What happened if something happened to you this weekend? What happens to you if something happens next week, next year? Are you prepared? What if? You have to be prepared. So that's where the next bit of this seminar is going to go about, is all about preparing you. So these are some of the things you want to make sure that you are getting your personal affairs in order. Legal documents. You want to have power of attorney over you. If you can't breathe or if you can't speak, who will be making your personal ways of how you're going to be taken care of, or that you are going to be let go? Do you have a will? Do you have life insurance? What does your bank account look like? Do you have any type of retirement savings? What happens if you even have a major accident right now? Can you live on your bank account for the next several months? Write personal. I'm going to actually pause right here. On that piece of paper next to you, I want you to write 5 names: family, friends, coworkers, whatever. And I'm going to challenge you. I want you to write 5 personal legacy letters within the next 7 days and leave them somewhere. If you have a will, leave them with your will, or put them in your fireproof safe, somewhere that people can find them. But I want you to write personal legacy letters to your significant others, to your family, to your partner, to whomever, but I want you to write those. The next thing you really need to make sure you're getting in order is your business affairs. How strong are your contracts? What do they currently say? How recently have you updated them? I just recently updated mine again in January, making sure that I had all the right, stipulations that if something was to happen to me, that one of my members of my team can take over, or a member of an organization I'm a part of. This is the reason why you're an ABC member. Okay. If something was to happen and you didn't have a large team, or your team is grieving so much they can't handle it, I guarantee you anyone on this call would step in, fly in, drive in, whatever they needed to do to make sure your legacy was protected. Who's going to take over? For me, Lachelle knows that she has my company when it's all said and done. Okay. She's allowed to have that. Now, you also need to make sure you have emergency funds. You need to make sure you have business insurance, and you need to make sure that your team knows their responsibilities and their delegations. If something was to happen, who steps in? Who comes and takes over the event? Who takes care of reaching out to each one of the clients and letting them know the situation and the steps that's going to follow afterwards? Who gets refunds? Who are you going to keep working on? You need to have all that in place so that way your team knows exactly what to handle if something was to happen. So, How many of you actually do have a business succession plan in place? Have you had that long, deep, dark conversation with that person of what you want your legacy to be left behind? You're working so hard for what you have right now. Do you want it all to go up in smoke? Of course not. You want to make sure that you have that in place. So on that piece of paper, if you don't have a succession plan, I want you to write the person who's going to be that person that you're going to go have that conversation with. And you're going to create that plan with them so they know how to be prepared if something was to happen to you. I do not recommend it being a spouse, a child, a parent, or a sibling. Why? They're grieving you. They aren't going to know which way they're going. They are going to be so upset and so distraught that you are no longer here with them that they are not going to know how to handle your business, especially if you have a large business. I average 20 to 30 weddings a year, not to mention the 50 to 100 clients that I have traveling. I need to make sure people know what's going on and how to handle that. How many of you have updated your contracts for unexpected events? I know we all added the COVID laws and the COVID things in there and all those aspects, but that was 5 years ago. Have you updated your contract 4 years since? Take a look at your contract. I'm going to challenge you. Update your contract every year. Mine grows almost sometimes with an event a year, but just because people are crazy. That's what you need to do. Update your contract. Here's some things that you want to make sure that are in your contract. All right. I know it's not fun, but obviously, if you're not here, a pandemic, hopefully we'll never see one of those again in our lifetime. But right now, the world is scary. So you also need to be prepared for riots, terrorists, and war, especially depending on where you're at. I live right near a major pipeline. We are always subject to a war or to terrorists because, well, let's just be real. That could harm a lot of people. So what does your insurance cover on those topics? And also, what does your contract cover? Again, I told you today was going to be deep, and I apologize. I brought a shovel. I'm just going to get deeper, but I'll dig us out in a few minutes. Don't you worry. I'll turn this corner. So these are some tools that I recommend that you have to stay prepared. All right. Ever ready. If you use Dropbox, that's great. I put all my files in Dropbox every so often, just in case something was to happen. My team can go in and look at every single thing from somewhere else, not just have to come to my house to look at those things. CRM tools. I just hired an amazing virtual assistant to organize and update 2 new CRM. So we're getting ready to completely change the game over here at Not Your Average Events. Make sure that you are building a community. Make sure you have people to lean on. Make sure that you have estate planning, a financial advisor, insurance, an accountant. These are all people that will definitely help you with your personal and business affairs. And I'm going to be real with you. If you haven't gone to your doctors and your dentist in a while for a physical or a normal checkup, schedule those appointments right now. It's taking months to get into a lot of these doctor visits. So go ahead. I highly recommend if you're in this industry, get your heart checked fully. Pay them. It usually isn't covered by your insurance, but pay for it. It definitely eased my mind and calmed me after 3 of my friends had a heart attack in 1 year. They were less than 45 years old, by the way. I also wanted to make sure that, I'm getting a physical every year, getting all my blood work checked. I want to make sure there's no secrets and no surprises, not only for myself, but for my family and my clients. And go to the gym. Take care of yourself. Here are some self-care that you should really be thinking about. Because again, have one of the most stressful jobs in the entire world. We're constantly working long hours. I mean, my average wedding days on a good day is 12, but normally it's anywhere from 14 to 18 hours days on my feet. The physical labor is just mind boggling. So I have to take care of myself. Constantly I literally just left the chiropractor before I got here. I'm always going to a masseuse. I go and get my nails done. I go get my hair done. I take a day to just relax because I have to take care of me, full mind, body, and soul. It will put an emotional, mental, and physical toll on your body. So I want you to take that piece of paper, slide it back in front of you, and I want you to write down some things that you do to take care of yourself during the wedding and event season. How do you not just become a cog in a wheel? Do you constantly just do the same thing over and over and over again? Are you constantly just working nonstop? I now have a policy where I try not to work many Sundays. That's kind of my day of rest. Unless, I have a client that's coming in, or that's the only day my client can meet because they, of course, have crazy work schedules as well. Then I'll work like one Sunday a month where I'll do a couple of appointments in the afternoon, but I'm still going to church in the morning and I'm still making sure I get off in time for date night that night. You have to take care of yourself. So make sure you're also scheduling white space on your calendar. If you're like me, I will fill my calendar up so much that there's nothing left for me to do or breathe. So take time for date nights, take time for friends and families, take time for just days for you. Make sure you're putting that schedule and that time in for you. So you want to also set boundaries. Tammy, if you're on here, you gave me an epiphany last year, and thank you so much. Because now anyone that hires us for day of, month of event management, we limit their hours to business hours. And if they want those after hours communications, they're going to pay for them. All right. Now with our hire packages, they can talk to me in the evenings and on Saturdays when available. But again, you have to set these boundaries with your clients and let them know, no, I'm not available at 8 o'clock in the morning. That's my time. My hours are from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. I work longer hours, longer days. Then I also want to make sure that you are delegating tasks. You don't have to do everything, especially the jobs you hate doing. Like I said, I hired a virtual assistant. Was it cheap? Absolutely not. Did it hurt to make that payment? Absolutely it did. But did I have to stress about it? Nope. Did that give me more time and more freedom? Absolutely. So delegate your task. I also just recently had a huge team meeting and said, hey, all right, here's all our inquiries. Split them up, and it was their job to go after them for the first initial phone call or the second call because I'd already done the one call and they weren't responding back. We ended up getting 5 or 6 more calls after that from people we just met at wedding shows or open houses. Take regular breaks. Step away from the screen. Walk away, take a moment, walk around the neighborhood. It will do you a world of good. Energy comes from taking care of your body, and you can't pour from an empty cup. I can't tell you how many times I say that to people. So don't hesitate to talk to a therapist or a support group, because as much as your spouse loves you, they do not want to hear about all the crap in your life. They really don't. They're there to support you 100%. But a therapist and a support group are there for you to lean on and give you the tools to work through any of the problems or issues that you're having. Find other ways to relax. Yoga, like I said, I love massages. I go to work out, meditate in the mornings. Whatever works for you, definitely do that. But the biggest thing, and I will thank Michelle for this one. Michelle told me this when I lost my dad. Give yourself grace. And I'm going to take a moment to pause because I want y'all to give yourself grace. You put so much on yourself. You put so much stress on yourself. I want you to remember you're one person and you're worth the wait. It took me so long to tell my clients, I'm not going to respond to your email tonight. I'm not going to respond to your email this week. I'm out of the country working another event, or I'm taking care of myself. I'm on vacation with my spouse and my family. It's a holiday weekend. I'm allowed to have time off too. They can get mad. They can do whatever. Either do one of two things: prepare for your absence or contact them when you get back. Hey guys, just want to let you know I just got back from this vacation. I'm 100% rested and ready to rock out your blah, blah, blah. Trust me, they will be okay with it. And they will wait 5 seconds, unless it's a sale that's going on that's going to end in 5 minutes or something major, like someone canceled, anything like that. Those are those moments where, yes, you can kind of break up the cycle. But again, give yourself that grace. So I want you to write down one self-care tip you can and will implement right now. I'm talking about in the next 48 hours, what will you do to take care of you? Put you first. Show that you are giving yourself grace. Write down one self-care tip. And if you want to put that in the chat, feel free. We'll go over those in a few minutes. Now, on that same piece of paper, I want you to write down one thing you'll start doing today to get your affairs in order. Call an estate attorney. Call your insurance agent. What will you do? Have an open conversation also with your partner. I didn't even know how my dad wanted to be, I'm sorry, disposed of when he passed. Now, my mom, because I spent the last 3 months beside her in a hospital room, we had plenty of time to talk exactly what she wanted to do for her final wishes. But my dad, it was a hope and prayer that I got that one right. And luckily I did. I actually spoke to his ex-girlfriend that he had for a very long time. And they happened to have had that conversation once, like 10 years ago. So literally, I want to make sure you're having that conversation with your spouse. They know how you want to be handled. Do you want a glorious, huge funeral, procession, celebration of life? Do you want to have your ashes spread somewhere? Do you want it quiet? Do you want it simple? Have that conversation because no one knows what they don't know. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to go out. I want you to create that true work-life balance. People always ask me, how do I do everything that I do in the time that I do? Well, I'm a big believer on work-life balance. I plan out what my week looks like. I take time off for myself and I don't regret it when I don't answer an email. It took me a long time to get that. If it's important, they'll text me and let me know, hey, I sent you an email yesterday. Okay, I'll be in the office at 10 o'clock. I'll check it then. Thank you for letting me know. It's not only for you, but being prepared is a peace of mind for everyone. So on my website, you can go under notyouraverageevents.com. There's some QR codes on the screen. If you QR code the kind of the goldish oranges, depending on your screen, black one, that one will take you right to my website, and that will give you some great things to get your affairs in order. Of course, the others are my social media. I hope you'll follow me. I hope that we'll become friends, and I hope that I can just follow your journey and be there for you any and every step of the way. Thank you guys so much for your time. I greatly do appreciate it. And we'll go into those comments and talk about all the fun stuff. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen so we can see everybody. Hopefully that was great. Hopefully you guys learned a lot of fun stuff. I'm going to pull up my chat on the side and go back to the top.
I didn't see any questions, Jen. I saw lots of comments.
Oh, I
And
love comments.
let me just say thank you. We have talked about this subject many times and for many years, and I'm glad that you were able to put this together when you were ready, and it was very, very, very impactful.
Thank you so much, Shelby, for that feedback. Oh, talking about taking your mom on a river cruise, I will tell you, I took my mom on her last vacation with her best friend in 2018. She passed 2 years later. That vacation was what she talked about the last 2 years of her life. It was the best photos I have of her. It was before her health started declining. So I'm going to tell you, don't wait till next year. Don't wait till next month. Plan a getaway. If you have a parent or a kid, I'm going to go ahead and say, even if I know a lot of you on here have kids, plan those family trips because I guarantee you those memories sometimes will be all that you have left. Yes.
Do you have any questions for
Yeah, if
Jen?
you have any questions, I'll be glad to. I'm an open book.
I have a question.
Yes.
I wanted to know, have we ever thought about, um, I noticed you said about self-care and a support group. Within ABC, has there been any thought to creating like a support group? Because me and some vendors, we kind of created a support group for ourselves because there's some times when you're frustrated or you want to fire a client or you just you have like a sounding board. Is that something that ABC has ever thought about creating? Just to, it was almost like maybe like it doesn't, it's like it's out there. Whoever is on and whoever is not. Just to have a moment to just take a breather and just explain. Because sometimes when you're explaining to people who are not in the event business, they look at you with like, what are you talking about? I don't understand. I thought you guys had all this fun. When in reality is like, I'll be honest with you, I want to smash somebody's head because I just walked away from a conversation that does not make any sense. And you added more work to my plate, but I didn't charge you for that work. So I'm just being honest because I don't know if that's something that just a group like that
Can I answer?
is available.
Come in and go to the bathroom.
I love
Can I
that
answer?
idea.
Come here, I'm gonna make your bread, your toast, sandwich.
Can I answer that?
Go ahead, McCall.
Well, we have, if somebody calls
Yeah,
into
like,
home office, we actually have a person that we can recommend. So ABC is looking into the legalities of all of it, just to make sure that we cover. But we do have someone that we have spoken to and everything, because we have had a planner to reach out, and it was beyond what I wanted to do. So we started researching. But as far as forming a whole support group, that could be something that we could bring up with leadership.
Okay,
Love
thank
that
you.
idea. Because if it wasn't for, honestly, for a lot of my ABC members these last 5 years, I mean, you guys were the ones that, like, literally, I will tell you, Tracy, y'all already know she's like my BFF. I met her through ABC. She literally has been the one person that has picked me off the ground. She's flown down to my house multiple times with each of my parents' deaths to be here with me, grieve with me, make sure that I was taken care of. So when I say our ABC family is something strong and something so much different than a lot of the other organizations that I've been a part of, we truly are family. And that's one of the big things I think us as a whole should really start showing more, is that ABC connections and how we really are there for each other. And it's so funny how many of our ABC members will read between lines when I've posted, because in the past, literally, especially in the last 3 years, I had to be very vague in what I posted or how I posted things, but they would read between it. I mean, McCole would call me, Margie's called me. There's been several people in this call that has called me out of the blue and said, "Hey, I saw your post. Are you okay? Or what is this about?" And so, those are some of those things that you really want to lean on those people in ABC for as well. I know, I think Katana was on here earlier. I'm not sure she's still on here, but Katana was one of my ride or dies throughout this process. She recently lost her husband, so we could talk a lot in that grieving process. So, I think it's one of those things that it's not an easy conversation. I mean, I'd like to say I had my stuff together before my mom passed, just because I was like, okay, here's all my bills. Something happens, they're in this folder. But does someone actually know where that folder is? Does someone have a key to the house to get into said folder? These are all those things that you have to think about that I don't think anybody likes to talk about.
But
Hey,
it's so
Jen.
important to have that conversation. Okay, next person.
Hey, Jen, it's Tia. You know, I just simply love you. And that information was really, really good. I am probably one of the most morbid in my family because I do try to plan for death. I actually have my obituary written already. My mother hates me for it. But I am one who believes in definitely planning for the unexpected. Um, I do need a little more self-care. Miss Shelby's always thanking me for that. But I am learning to say no. I'm actually getting really good at it, probably more so than others like. But I appreciate everything that you said. And I love you, love you, love you.
Thank you so much. Um, you know, you mentioned having your obituary written. That was really hard for me to write because I wrote both my parents, because the funeral home will write it, but it's dry and it's boring. I won't lie. And so, that was probably one of the hardest things to do, is write both my parents' obituaries. But I thought my mom had her whole entire, because like I said, we had all of her affairs in order. And I found this one piece of paper that wrote out exactly what she wanted at the funeral home. She had gone to the funeral home, and I thought she had actually paid for said funeral. And I show up going, okay, unfortunately, she's passed. All right, let's do this thing. No, that was just a quote from about 10 years ago. And when I say that quote went up a whole lot, it was about double the amount it was 10 years ago. So when I say dying is not cheap, it is not. And unfortunately, a lot of times your families are going to do this and turn and look the other way. And you're like, oh, don't worry, let me get a credit card. I'll take care of it. This was in the middle of COVID. Remember, I had no payments coming in. Nothing. I was dry for 6 months. It hurt. But again, you do what you have to do. So I want to make sure that you can go to a funeral home. You can prepay for what you want your funeral or how you want to be taken care of. And that's one of my next steps I'm actually saving up to do now. That's my next big thing I want to take care of in the next 5 years. Hopefully sooner than then, but that's technically one of the things that I have on my to-do list. So I highly recommend reaching out to also a local funeral home. Just talk to them the process so it's not so scary the day it happens, because everything happens very fast when someone passes, just so you know. I mean, again, I'd like to, Tia, you said you're the morbid one of your family. So this is, I remember going to both of my parents' house. Both my parents, I found out about the same time, between 4:15 and 5 a.m. in the morning is when I found out when both my parents passed. By 9, I was at my mom's house, stripping her house of any electronics, any jewelry, or anything that I thought someone could break in and take. By noon, I was by 9 o'clock, when my dad passed, I had already reached out to all of his, the few people I could trust to go move all heavyish machinery, because my dad was he did grading and hauling and he had big machines. By 9 a.m., all of his job sites were empty. I had people calling me asking me if someone had stolen his equipment, because other people were probably going to go look at it too. So that's the
so
morbid
smart.
part you have to think about.
That is so smart. I ain't never think about that. That is smart.
I mean, I didn't have time to grieve. I had to go into, I don't want anybody to steal my dad's stuff. So by noon, his house was cleared of guns. His house was cleared of any, he didn't have jewelry or any of that stuff, but I had to make sure all of his guns were gone. I had to make sure any of his equipment was locked up. I had to make sure no one could get into his garage for his tools, any of that kind of stuff, because he lived out in the country. So I had to buy light bulbs and timers so people would think and I'd go every few days and go change the timers so people couldn't tell what time the timers were going off or somebody was actually staying in the house. These are all things people do not tell you. These are all things that no one will be open and honest with you. But I'm hoping my story, my testimony, the things that I went through, I'm hoping that I can share that with you. My Facebook had to go private the minute pretty much within a few days after my dad passed, because somebody was copying everything off my Facebook page and sending it to a lawyer and saying that I was already selling his stuff and I was already getting rid of the stuff and I was already doing this stuff. And anytime I went to go get my nails done or anytime I went to go travel, because I'm a travel agent, I had to show all of my bank accounts to my estate lawyer to prove that I wasn't taking any of his money out of the estate. Death is ugly. Death is scary. Death is not fun. But if you have your affairs in order and you are surrounded by people that love you and that support you, you will get through it if it's someone else. But if it's you, prepare the world for your absence and leave amazing legacies behind. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Jen. I really appreciate you. If there's no other questions for Jen, we're going to end the webinar. If you all want to, let me stop the recording.